Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return with round 21 of Season 2 of our F1 22 Haas Road to Glory. Yes, we're back today, ready for the Brazilian GP. And of course, if you missed out on the last video from Mexico, would highly recommend going back and checking it out. Of course, went live later on towards the end of last week. Well worth going and having a look. Of course, there will be spoilers in just a second. And of course, yes, today, theoretically, we could be we could be crowned Formula 1 champion. Yes, as we head into the penultimate race of the year, we have now got a 40-point lead over Max Verstappen. So, of course, all we need to do between the sprint and the main race is lose less than 14 points to him. Of course, 26 points, the gap he would need to overhaul in the championship finale in Abu Dhabi. But, you know, we've even now got a chance at the Constructors' Championship. Red Bull, neither of their cars making it to the checkered flag last time out there means that we have been given a lifeline for myself and Kevin Magnussen here. We need to continue scoring on as many points as we can in these final couple of races, of course. And some of you have been asking, you know, you've said you don't want the Haas Road to Glory to come to an end just yet. Of course, if I do win the championship, it will be finishing, but don't get me wrong, I have got some other things, you know, I've got some other tricks up my sleeve that I think you're going to really enjoy as we get in towards, you know, F1 23, you know, starting to get a few potential sneak peeks at that in the near future. So, although the Haas Road to Glory might come to an end, there's still every possibility that we lose this championship and we have to come back for a third season. If we don't, I have got some other things cooking that I think you guys are going to love. Let's get into it, though. Sao Paulo Brazilian GP time, of course. As always, it's a bumper episode. We've got the sprint and the full GP today. Timestamps will be linked down below. Let's get this. Based on F1 22 real-life standards, anything less than pole position here is actually quite a letdown for us. Of course, Kevin Magnussen taking that fantastic pole right at the end of last season. Hopefully the race doesn't go like Kevin's did. Of course, that weekend was really the high point for Haas, rather sadly. But yeah, let's see them. Come on, what we can do around this Sao Paulo circuit. Of course, very, very short track, one of the quickest in terms of lap time around Sao Paulo. We should see times probably in the 1:07s, maybe we'll get close to the 1:06s. Of course, this Haas car's still not quite as quick as the My Team car does. We get a bit of a wobble off the curbing of turn 4, but of course, yeah, running fairly, you know, I don't want to say we're running a lot of downforce because I don't genuinely believe we are this weekend. We know just how good this Haas car is down the straights there, as Kevin Magnussen immediately sets the pace on a 1:07.9. I'm developing a habit of doing that again, though, at the moment. I've got new pedals. These pedals work. I don't know why this is becoming a thing once more. Hopefully, of course, one of the benefits of Sao Paulo being such a short circuit as well, of course, it means I can go for a double run then. Going to be a little bit close on the ERS this second time around, but I don't think a 1:13 is going to cut it, because we actually gave Lando Norris some slipstream to the line. That is not the line through turn 1 either. So we've got Carlos Sainz's first car into the 1:06s then. So Ferrari's still showing what great pace they've got late on in the campaign. Would have been nice to have them a bit more in the battle this year. I know obviously Charles Leclerc has done a fantastic job right the second half of this season. When he's not taking me out, it must be said. But up over the line then for our first proper lap, 1:07.4. Only good enough for Pete. Right, well, final lap then here from qualifying. Charles Leclerc has set the pace, going fractionally quicker than his teammate Carlos Sainz, still down on the 1:06.7s. And Max Verstappen in P3 there. Kevin Magnussen is on a 1:70, so I think that's got to be the time that we aim for here on our last ditch run. Currently actually down in P12, so really not ideal. We need to get this lap hooked up. made that mistake down in turn 4, and then just basically knew I had to go all out around the rest of the lap there. Really am lacking pace around this Sao Paulo circuit. Of course, we're not under massive pressure in the Drivers' Championship. We can afford to finish behind the Dutchman this weekend, but still want to try and fight for that Constructors' Championship. It's P12 on the grid, ready for the sprint race. That is really not what I wanted. Well, there we go then, qualifying done and dusted, and it is a Ferrari front row lockout there. No one really moving around in the top group. Hamilton bumped his way up into P5 ahead of fellow Brit Lando Norris, but P12 then on the grid, ready for the sprint race today. Only ahead of pretty much the backmarker cars there, AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo, Aston and Williams. We've just got to get on with it though, and try and recover some places in the sprint to give ourselves a better chance in the main event. Let's get into it. It's the Brazilian GP time.
Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and the smooth operator Carlos Sainz completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Magnussen, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Norris. Perez, Albon, Ocon, and George Russell. Ricciardo, Mr. Monaco. Pierre Gasly and Tsunoda. Bottas, Joe. Mick Schumacher and Lance Stroll. Vettel and Nicholas Latifi. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
Right, here we are then. Sprint race time ready from the Brazilian GP. I'm sure many inside the FIA and Formula One's media are probably quite happy that this race isn't going to decide the World Championship. There's no mathematical way that we can wrap this one up today, because I am very, very much expecting that to be a reality at some point in the near future in Formula One. Maybe even in 2023. Max Verstappen will crown himself World Champion during a sprint race there, and it will just really kill some of the hype. But we've got 12 laps ahead of us today. For us, it's all about trying to recover some places, hence why I've gone on the softs. It just means we can try and smash our way through early on, metaphorically, not literally, I hope. But of course, normally these tyres will fall off later on in the sprint, but not badly enough. Right, well, I've really got to hope Kevin Magnussen does some heavy lifting here in the sprint race. If he can get ahead of Max Verstappen early on, that could do us some big favours as a team there. Of course, still have definitely got a fight on our hands with Red Bull for the Constructors. Perez starting a bit further down the order as well, so I think he's got to be one of the cars that we aim to jump there. There he is, up in 7th place. That's of course one of the most difficult grids to try and start from, because pretty much every position is uphill. Let's do this thing though. Brazilian GP sprint race. Let's try and get a good, clean getaway. Less revs, Matt. 5 red lights here in Brazil. Lights out, and away we go. Oh, a little bit of wheel spin in the second phase there. Gasly is going to say thank you very much, and so is Zhou Guanyu. Big dive in towards the first corner there from the Alfa Romeo. Will immediately slot alongside Daniel Ricciardo. So we try and get back around Pierre there. So we've lost 1 place off the start of this Grand Prix. Looks like Magnussen has sadly gone backwards as we're going to try and use this Haas straight line speed down the Esquido del Lago there. Ricciardo sends one back at the inside of Zhou Guanyu there. Even as I look at the inside of George Russell, we're lucky just to spot him in towards the corner there, but no real progress made up for ourselves off the start of this Grand Prix. Now we'll try it around the outside of Zhou Guanyu, but no, we're just going to get boxed in there again as Gasly trying to have a look up the inside of the Alfa Romeo. We're going to try and Ricciardo's onto him through the next couple of turns. There are so many cars frantic to make up places at the start of this Grand Prix there, and every time we just seem to get a little bit boxed in there around the outside of Zhou Guanyu as we swoop down through the next couple of corners. They're careful. There's a big bump as you try and flick the car in through the left. It can really upset the rear of the car, as we found out in qualifying the hard way. But Verstappen, he's had a lightning getaway then, up into P2 of this Grand Prix. Of course, come the end of the sprint, we'll have a look at championship permutations. But look at the straight line speed that this Haas car has still got there. Pierre Gasly having to go defensive on the run back up towards turn 1. We'll try and send it around the outside. Gasly almost into the back of Daniel Ricciardo there. Will kind of trip himself over through the first corner, giving plenty of room off of turn 2. But we are back to where we started then. P12 here in Interlagos. Not the worst start in the world, not the best. See if I can get a run on Ricciardo then as we come to the end of lap 2. Carlos Sainz there leading the way, so Charles Leclerc has had a nightmare start to this race. Of course, had some mechanical issues last weekend, but not as...
1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
Really? Oh, I've been rammed from behind as well, of course. Come on, Ricciardo. I was there on the inside, and we got a virtual safety car. Will that be turned into a full safety car? No, it won't. Mick Schumacher out of the Grand Prix. Yep, safety car has been deployed in this sprint. That's going to break the game, isn't it? It's going to completely break the game. Let's see what happens now then, I suppose.
Okay, the virtual...
Right, we're having a look then at our current race order. Carlos Sainz then leading the way ahead of Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. There are, of course, still potentially quite a big battle going on for P2 in the championship. Sergio Perez lost a place as well from where he started to Alex Albon, but Magnussen as well going backwards has not done us any favours. We are in P11 though. Of course, this will give us a bit of a helping hand on the soft compound tyres. We should be able to push on them even more towards the end of the race, but I'm just getting so fed up with the AI just constantly turning in on you. I was down the inside of Ricciardo, he could see me there, he just carried on turning in on me, and to be honest at this point, I'm just not backing out against him anymore. Right, let's do this thing then. Back to go green flag racing here from Sao Paulo, and we've got to be ready to try and get the jump on George Russell. I'm going to get on the battery, I think we're going. Oh no, George, come on, he hasn't gone. I'm going to try and time it up towards the line there to the outside of George Russell. I'm really trying. Whoa, Ocon's broke early. Whoa, George and I both accidentally sent it on Esteban Ocon there, and almost Checo Perez got involved in that one as well. But I mean, we're up inside the top 10 then of this race, but really, I need to get into the top 8 there. It's already halfway through this sprint. Ocon, he's lost like 4 places in one corner. And Zhou Guanyu, I don't know how he found his way past the Frenchman as well. But clearly, Ocon not getting off to the best race restart there. But we've got to, like I said, use these soft tyres still to the best of their ability as we head up the hill all over the back still of George. You know what? We won't be all over the back of George. We'll be up the inside and we'll be through. P9 now in this race is ours. Let's keep pushing. Right, let's see what Checo Perez's straight line speed is like then as we head up out the final corner towards the start-finish line. Once again, you can see getting another nice run on yet another car here. We'll have to try and pull out right at the last moment. To the inside, Checo spots us, locks up in a bit of a panic there and even tries to turn in slightly on me. But we are now up into the points of this sprint race. Here we got yellow flags out. No, it's K-Mag! No! Kevin Magnussen with issues. And Perez just rammed into him. Oh my days! Checo Perez out of the Grand Prix as well. And we've got another safety car. 2 safety cars in a sprint race. As now that's 1 Red Bull and 1 Haas car out of this Grand Prix. What on earth was that? Checo Perez just in a plume of smoke. He tried to do a Kimi Räikkönen from Spa years ago, but that's not what Kimi did. Clearly, Sergio Perez decided that if Kevin Magnussen wasn't finishing this race, he didn't want to either. But 2 safety cars in a 12-lap sprint and 3 DNFs already here in Sao Paulo just goes to show how crazy this one is already turning into. We're up to 7th place, though, in this race, but this has got to be one of the shortest safety cars we'll ever have on F122. And there we go, talk about short safety cars on F122. At the end of that very same lap, we are... Oh, come on. We're about to go green flag racing once again then here in Sao Paulo. Let's again try and see if we can get the jump. Come on. Trying to monitor it alongside the Alpine of Alex Albon. I think we've just about timed it there. He's going to send it up the inside. And he's completely hit Lando Norris. What on earth is this race? Here in Sao Paulo there. We somehow... No, Lewis, don't do it! Of course. Of course. Why? Right, let's see if the AI are actually going to give me some room this time. Yep, I know I don't use rewinds very often, but so fed up with the AI just turning in on me on this game there. We're back side by side then with George Russell as we head down the hill, as Albon's still having a look at the inside of Lando Norris there, and that time round we've picked up some front wing damage. This is getting very, very frustrating late on in this sprint race. Just so much carnage and chaos there as that front wing damage is really going to cost us. George Russell now running into the side of me as well. But the top 3, of course, with Albon on his interesting mission there of now been able to break free once again. Of course, with Perez and Magnussen not scoring points, this is once again going to allow Red Bull just to open up a little bit more in the Constructors' Championship there. Even if we can get all the way up to P4, still give them a 2 point extra score here. Let's just keep trying to use battery towards the end of this Grand Prix. The tyres haven't gone off just yet. That front wing damage has definitely cost us, but yeah, I apologise for those of you that don't like seeing the rewinds, but it's just so annoying when the AI constantly turn in on you. We were ahead of Hamilton through the first corner. It's not like we just got alongside him, but they just continue to squeeze and squeeze and squeeze until you get spun. Alright, final lap then. Here in Interlagos, at least for Saturday's running of action. I don't genuinely think we've had DRS at all in this sprint race. It just goes to show how ridiculous this one has been. Will it be enabled for the final lap? I don't think oh, there we go. It has been enabled, so we might still, if we can stay close to Lewis, be able to get a run back up towards the start-finish line then. Potentially do what Pierre Gasly did all those years ago and beat out the Merc in a drag race there. But Russell just dropping back ever so slightly as we head back down the Assetto del Lago. Lando Norris might be trying to eye up a move on Alex Albon on this final lap. There is, yeah, starting to get a little bit ragged. Just like I said, a bit of frustration setting in from the way the AI drive on this game. The thing as well, Brazil is such a fun track to drive on F1 22. With the AI, you either have mega battles with them, or they're just awful. So, yeah, it's one extreme or the other, apparently, and sadly I'm getting the latter today there as well. Just nicking the grass ever so slightly. I think this front wing damage, mixed with the tyres, potentially taking a bit more of a beating than everyone else's mediums have done there. It's still going to be 12th to 7th come the end of the sprint race there. But at the final corner, Carlos Sainz will take the win here in Saturday's sprint racing. Max Verstappen P2 ahead of Charles Leclerc, who does take home fastest lap, will come through for P7. A good recovery from where we started.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Well, that lead at the top has somewhat shrunk today. Let's move on to the Constructors. And pulling further ahead in the standings, it's Red Bull. With the sprint wrapped up, we now have our grid line-up for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
Well, there we go then, having a look at our final results there. Carlos Sainz takes the win ahead of Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. Albon, Norris, Hamilton, myself and George Russell there, all four Brits in a line. Zhou Guanyu and Ocon rounding out the top 10 there. And I mean, that has given some of those backmarker cars quite a good opportunity. Of course, Nicholas Latifi has somehow been able to place himself P12 there, despite having to make a pit stop in that sprint race there. And we can have a look then at the Drivers' World Championship. 35 points, the gap between myself and Verstappen. So if he wins, I need to come second today to wrap up the championship. If he comes second, I need to come fifth. Of course, this is all depending on fastest lap. But Charles Leclerc is not out of this either. So to knock Charles out of the championship, all I need to do is come fifth, sorry. Make sure that even if he got fastest lap bonus point, he'd still only outscore me by 16 points there, so that would bring the gap down to 27. But yeah, there is still an opportunity for Verstappen and Leclerc to drag this out to the bitter end, but we've given ourselves a good fighting chance. Can we win our first ever World Championship for Haas on F1 22? Only time will tell. Let's get into it. Brazilian GP time.
Formula One returns to Interlagos once again with the stage set for what promises to be another classic Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel famously clinched his third championship here in 2012, and just 4 years later, Max Verstappen treated us to one of the finest wet weather drives of all time. It's an unusual anti-clockwise race here at Interlagos, where the Sao Paulo locals are packed into the grandstands at each of the 15 corners around this classic 2.7-mile circuit. Two very fast sections bookend the famous and highly technical Sector 2, where getting a good run out of Junsao into one of the two DRS zones will be key to any overtaking prospects today. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. An immense lap from Carlos Sainz yesterday puts him in pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Albon, Mr. Monaco, and Ocon, Ricciardo, Stroll, Gasly, and Lando Norris. They've taken a grid penalty. Vettel, Hamilton, Yuki Tsunoda, and Latifi. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Russell, Perez, Guan Yu Zhou, and Mick Schumacher. Bottas, they've taken a grid penalty, and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track. It's race day yet again, and joining me for a chat is Anthony Davidson. And our racers are certainly in for a rough day today. What will you be watching out for as they head into turn 1?
Well, the start of the race is always one of the most nerve-wracking parts. You have to hope that everyone is able to get off to a clean start, and this is possibly the trickiest part of the entire race. So many drivers in such a small space, and finding your braking point into turn 1 as well. It's a testament to the driver's skill that there aren't more incidents.
Right, here we are then. Today could be the day we crown ourselves Formula 1 World Champion. Mediums to hards looks like the strategy here at Interlagos, but, yeah, I mean, to be honest, with the way the championship permutations are looking, there's going to be a lot of mental maths going on throughout the entirety of the afternoon. But I'm excited for it. I'm feeling ready. We're up into P5, though, by virtue of plenty of grid penalties for other cars. And that makes my life a whole lot easier relative to the cars around me. We just have to get a good start, and then, to be honest, if we have to sit behind Leclerc and Verstappen all day, I'm more than happy to do so. I've realised by saying that as well, of course, that does hamper our chances of the Constructors' Championship, so maybe I can't afford to sit behind Leclerc and Verstappen all day. We'll wait and see how things go. Right. Let's do this thing. Brazilian Grand Prix time. Sao Paulo was crowned many world champions in the past, including myself, of course, back in the My Team series. Will it crown another one today? Trying to get as much heat as we can into those rear tyres there as we light them up. As 0.1 on the start there. Absolutely love to see that. But Kevin Magnussen starting right at the back of the field there. Sergio Perez in his penultimate Formula 1 Grand Prix way down the roster as well. Not only is it Max or I for the World Championship, Leclerc is still there, but it is also Max and I to help our teams. 5 red lights for the Brazilian GP. It's lights out and away we go. And looks like Verstappen has not got off to a good start there. Charles Leclerc will have a look around the outside of him. We've been jumped by both Alpines, though. We'll try and look back around the outside of Ocon through turn 1. They're 3 wide momentarily. There is Daniel Ricciardo getting into the mix, but just like in the sprint race yesterday, well, we watched Ocon get bullied off a restart. It's happened again through the first couple of turns there. We're going to try and force him down the Esquina de Lagos. Look at Verstappen and Leclerc up the road back. Of course, they know that if I end up with issues this afternoon, they have still got a chance, but they've got to try and outscore each other to potentially take big points out of me. Of course, theoretically, we could head to Abu Dhabi with as much as a 61-point lead, as little as a 9-point gap to the Dutchman there, as Carlos Sainz streaks away into the distance on this open lap. We've only lost the 1 place to Daniel Ricciardo, which, to be honest, I probably can't complain all too much about, especially with how aggressive he went down in towards that first corner. But we're going to have to be really careful of the AI in this main event today. There is Carlos Sainz heading out of Jung Sao there. Big lead by the end of that one. Verstappen was adamant he was hanging on to the place ahead of Charles Leclerc there. But of course, if the race were to finish like this, we would be Formula 1 World Champion. No, we wouldn't. Sorry. The gap would be 25 points. Verstappen would still have a chance. Let's see if we can get a run on Ricciardo in towards turn 1. Get past the McLaren. I was half expecting him to turn in on me there, so I absolutely launched it, because it's the only way I can go through without getting binned off. Mark's happy with it though, so you know what, I'm taking it. Goodbye, Danny Rick. All over the back of Alex Albon though, who was already losing touch to the front runners. Here as we come towards the end of lap 3. It's only taking us 3 laps in this main race to have as much DRS as we ever got in the sprint yesterday then. Not going to get close enough to Albon back down in towards the first corner, but thank you very much, Alex. That'll make my life a whole lot easier there. Don't even have to go for the overtakes in this one. Straight up into P4 we go then, as Verstappen and Leclerc still duking it out up in front. But here comes Albon though, trying to come back at me as we head down the hill. We'll make the move to the inside there. Whoa, just nick the curbing. You know what? The Thai driver's found the grip around the outside there. He has been mega in that Alpine ever since the summer break. Are we going to be able to hook it up around the outside? Got a little bit more grip. We'll swoop through, and we will now hopefully cement P4. And on the mini-map, looks like Kevin Magnussen has got the jump on Sergio Perez early on in this race. I mean, it's still unlikely that either of them are going to score particularly big points this afternoon, but I'm more than happy just to sit here and let this race hopefully come to me. Of course, Leclerc and Verstappen, they're not really battling at the moment. I think they're both trying to push to close back down the gap to the Spaniard in the lead. But like I said, I'm happy to sit here at the moment, just let things hopefully try and come towards me. Because, of course, I don't want to do anything stupid and potentially hamper my own championship chances. As much as I really want to win the Constructors for the team as well, we have got to think about the Drivers' title. Well, for longer-term viewers of the channel, some of you might remember the Williams Road to Glory I did all the way back on F1 2021, one of my favourite series I think I've ever done still, honestly, looking back at it. But of course, some of you might remember in those final few races, the likes of Red Bull really, just were able to upgrade. They have much better facilities than the Williams team there, so it really was actually about trying to hang on in those final few races of that campaign. It might be the same story in the Haas Road to Glory, of course, to be honest. Ferrari and Red Bull, Haas are one of the only teams that aren't able to quite meet the budget cap. They've got so much more money than us, they've got so much more resources than us, that they have definitely got quicker cars late on in this campaign. We've just got to try and snooker away victories where we've been able to, but also making sure that we're picking up decent points where we can as well. They're both cars now on the performance charts better than our own, but the gap is starting to come back to me slightly, as we're just still doing everything I need to. I might be going for the Alain Prost strat at the moment, I'm just mathematically doing enough. But it would be nice to get closer to him, and like I said, still do want to think a little bit about that Constructors. Ooh, okay, that will explain it then. Sainz didn't realise he started on the soft compound tyres in this Grand Prix, so now we're up into the podium places. Does change the championship ramifications ever so slightly, of course, because if he's two-stopping, which I'm led to believe he will be, having to pit that early. Now, of course, if the race were to finish like this, the gap between myself and Max will be 25 points as we head into this final race next weekend, so we would not be out of the championship hunt. Still get scared every single time I see that pop up from Mark, because with the way F1 22 has been going for me recently, more in the My Team than in this series, we just seem to get a lot of engine failures, so hopefully today is not going to be one of those days. We wind our way back up through the middle sector there. The gap is still coming down very, very minimally to Charles and Max. Of course, we might take a bit of time out of them through the pit stop cycle as well, but would like to try and get within that range, as it just seems like Charles Leclerc can stay with the Dutchman, but can't find a way around him. Well, to be completely honest, this race so far, of course, the sprint race was ridiculous, but the main event, I've never driven a career mode race that's felt more like a league race, to be honest, early on. Just everyone's so similar on pace. We are still pushing to try and take time out of Max and Charles, but we are still only closing in by, a tenth a lap or something like that. We're almost at the halfway stage this afternoon, and we are still bringing that gap down the right way, but it's just such slow progress up towards those top two. Plus, to be honest, I'd love to actually win the race that crowns me champion, if this is that race. I think we might have nursed our tyres ever so slightly better than those front two. The gap now is starting to come down a little bit more aggressively late on in the stint. Still pretty much setting mid 109.5s every single time, but the gap now down to 1.4 to Charles. Team wants in the end of this one. I am tempted just to extend ever so slightly. So we've got Verstappen and Charles both into the pit lane then at the end of 17. I'm going to try and extend this stint by one extra lap. See if I can get a bit of an overcut that might bring me closer. Of course, I'm going to have to try and fire up their tyres again. But now we have got to just take every last bit of rubber off this set. I really want to see what tyres Sainz is on as well in this race. Not getting any confirmation of it just yet. I did see you get held up a little bit earlier on. Sainz is behind Leclerc? No, he's on medium, so he's definitely pitting again though before the end, but he has re-emerged just ahead of that Red Bull. The gap to Verstappen still has been going up there. It's up to like 19.2 seconds at one point. You're going to have to keep draining the battery and be very, very aggressive on the pit entry. There we go, just about get it slowed down into the pit lane. Have we potentially got the jump on the Dutchman here as we head down the pit lane? We need a good stop from the team. This could be a championship-worthy pit stop there. Purple on the turning point. Are the team going to get it done well? A bit sloppy, 2.5 though. There goes Carlos, and as we head back out of the pit lane, got to be so careful on this pit exit. But there goes the Dutchman and Charles Leclerc. He will go around me as well. Have we taken any time out of them? I think we have a little bit. But of course we're going to lose some time on this outlap on the cold rubber. But we do now have a slightly fresher set of tyres right the way through to the checkered flag. Oh, that was scary. That could have been GG's today if we looped it off that curb and hit the wall. But we live to fight another day. Let's keep pushing. To be honest, what I really need at this point of the day is for Leclerc to start battling with Max. But it just doesn't seem like Charlie Boy can get a run on the Dutchman. They get now back up to 3 seconds to Charles. Whoa, we have got a lot of work to do still. Oh, we've got yellow flags out. No, Magnussen again! Kevin Magnussen has had 2 mechanical failures in this Grand Prix. No, he's going again. He was definitely stopped on my mini-map. I got no idea what's going on with K-Mag. Maybe he looped it around there, heading up through turn 5 and 6, but he's lived to fight another day, apparently. I was just about to get really angry. I've just been thinking over the last couple of laps, depending on what Carlos Sainz ends up doing here, it might be a question of whether we can try and claim fastest lap bonus point. Because, of course, if we were to finish P3 with the fastest lap, that could mean that Verstappen, of course, we're just basing this on the fact that Sainz will probably have to pit again before the end of this GP. If Sainz doesn't pit and Verstappen can't win, then if we finish 4th, we've done it. We've won the world title. If Sainz pits, depends what tyres he pits onto, but it might be worth us boxing late on in the day, bolting on a fresh set of soft compound tyres, taking fastest lap as long as we can still finish P3, because that means Verstappen would only take 9 points out of me. We'd leave Sao Paulo with a 26-point lead in the championship, and then it would be a question of who's had the most wins on the year, which I don't know whether that would be Max or myself, to be honest. There we go, Sainz into the pit lane though, so there we go. That answers one of the questions I had. Now I want to know what tyres he's going to go back onto. Could be mediums, could be hards. But also I want to see where he comes out in this Grand Prix. Of course, if he gets held up in that Albon gaggle, he is going hards there, so that works nicely for us. If he gets held up in that Albon gaggle, which it looks like he will, if we pit late on in the day, we might have to do quite a lot of overtaking as well, but we only need 1 lap fastest. Sainz has come out a little way behind them though, but I guess we've got to try and get that gap to Albon up to about 17, 18 seconds, and then we might be able to make a call. Because, to be honest, at the moment, I don't think we're going to catch Charles or Max. They are just too quick for us. We've just got to try and do something else. Of course, the other thing I want to make sure I do is if I do try and pit and get the jump on Albon, I need to do it in such a way that means we gain the most time possible. Of course, that means also trying to make sure we set fastest lap. But if we come out behind that gaggle, that we get the jump on all of them as well, of course. Because if I finish P4... then this has all been completely for nothing there. The gap to Albon is still opening up. 33 seconds ahead of Kevin Magnussen. It's really not been a fun weekend for our teammate once again. But we've got to try and, like I said, get this gap up to Albon. So about 17 seconds, I think, by about lap 30. I don't know at the moment. This is so risky, no matter what we do. But I think we've just got to take the chance with it. In the perfect world, what we'd have now is Ricciardo battling with Alex Albon, where we can basically pit at any point between now and the end of the GP. These soft tyres will go to the end of the Grand Prix, but of course as well we've just got to make sure we've got a bit of battery and potentially some clear air to go for it, as Albon looks to just have enough on Ricciardo down the straights. Of course, if we come out behind that group, will I even be able to make moves happen? So many questions left to be decided into the final 10 laps of this GP. I mean, the only other thing we can hope for is perhaps Leclerc and Verstappen start battling. Surely they're still battling for P2 in the championship and the potential chance to snooker it away from me. Yellow flag's out. Down in Sector 1, it's the other McLaren, Lando Norris, out of the GP. If we got a safety car now, that could work beautifully for us. Norris out of this race, but I don't think we're going to get one by the looks of it. But that does give us, if we pit, one less car to worry about. You know what, Lando Norris retiring has really opened up the gap between, I think that must be Lewis Hamilton? I want to say no, it might be George Russell. Whichever Merc it is, Sainz from Ricciardo and Albon. So I think we've just got to gamble at the end of this lap I think we're going to peel into the pit lane there and just have those really, really fresh, quick tyres late on in the day. I've only got to try and get one lap, and I've got to try and get back to P3. Two things that sound fairly simple on paper, but might still be a fair old challenge late on in the afternoon. It's a risky play. Sometimes to win Formula 1 World Championships, you got to take big risks there. 8 laps to go here at the Brazilian Grand Prix, and we are going to peel into the pit lane then for a fresh set of the soft compound tyres. We haven't taken everything out of these hards like we possibly could have, but how far behind Albon and Ricciardo are we going to be there? We've got both of their teams actually on this. I pressed the wrong button. I was too busy looking at the mini-map. That's not going to do me any favours. Come on, go, 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 go. We're going to be out, I think, behind Hamilton and Sainz. Yes, we are. So this has really not worked out as well as I wanted so far. But we have still got 8 laps to make the difference late on in the day. Let's try and get that fast lap first of all, because we're going to actually come out right near the other Alpine of Esteban Ocon, side by side with Esteban Ocon as we head down the Esquina Lago. There's Sainz and Hamilton battling up the road. That does us some favours to bring us a bit closer. Let's not give up just yet. Hamilton already losing a fair old chunk of pace to Carlos Sainz, but I don't think we'll get the run down the Esquina Lago on the mud. We're going to have to try and get a run back up in through the middle sector there, as you can just see how much more grip we've got at the moment, able to throw the car in so much later on the brakes and the mud there. Hamilton's going to try and squeeze me, but up the hill we'll go around the outside of the 7-time Formula 1 World Champion there, and back into P6 of this GP. Of course, this has got to be the fastest lap attempt. I've used so much battery already on this lap, and of course we'll get the DRS off Sainz as well. So purple through the first sector there. Are we going to be able to go purple through sector 2? We might lose a little bit of time. I don't even know what the fastest lap of the day is, to be completely honest, but we're purple through sector 2 as well there. Surely this one, as we try and put the power down up the hill with the DRS as well on Carlos Sainz, surely this is going to be new fastest lap of the day late on in the afternoon. They're tucked up in the slipstream, getting every possible bit of top end speed we can. They're a 107.8. And round the outside of the Spaniard as well at turn 1. He really tries to squeeze me out down onto the grass with 2 wheels. But we are through. We're into P5 of the Grand Prix. 6 laps to go here from Interlagos. 4 seconds up to Alex Albon up the road. We have still got to push this to the end. We need that P3. And look at that, just on that lap alone, we've taken 1.4 seconds out of Alex Albon. Surely, as long as these tyres don't completely hit the cliff, surely we can get this P3 back. Look at this then for Destiny here in the penultimate race of the year. A fight still pretty much between myself and Max Verstappen, and the 2 drivers that potentially are going to make the difference are 2 of his former teammates there. Daniel Ricciardo and Alex Albon, of course, have both raced against the Dutchman in the same team there. Ricciardo certainly was a match for him, as Max Verstappen, of course, still a teenager back then. It's absolutely mad to think about. Of course, into his very early 20s, Alex Albon sadly couldn't quite get close to the Dutchman on enough occasions there. You can see as we plunge down the hill all over the back of Ricciardo, practically pushing the McLaren along though, as we try and have a look to the inside. Are we going to be able to make something happen there? Ricciardo jumps out of the way, gives me the room, thank you very much to Daniel there, and we are now back into P4 of this Grand Prix. Surely Albon's just going to be a sitting duck when we get back round to the main straight, but of course this doesn't necessarily mean that we are champion. Of course, for those of you that don't know quite how the Formula 1 point scoring works, of course we'll leave here with a 26-point lead. What on earth is Albon doing down at turn 1? With a 26-point lead in the championship if we reclaim this P3. Now, if of course Max Verstappen were to win the final race of the year and take fastest lap, he would score 26 points. Of course, if I scored nothing, we would be tied leaving Abu Dhabi. So when it's never happened before in real life Formula 1, but if there's ever a tie for the World Championship, it's based on who's got the most race victories. Of course, if it's still a tie, then it goes P2s, P3s, and so on and so on. But of course, yeah, with this extra win for Verstappen, say I've got, I don't know, 6 wins to his 5. Of course, if this is win number 6 for him, then he's still got a chance at the championship next weekend, because we can leave there tied. He'd have 7 wins, then to my 6. 2 more laps to go here from Interlagos, and to be honest, I don't know whether we're about to win a World Championship or not. This is very, very uncommon in the world of Formula 1. I never even thought to look at who had more wins on the year so far. I'd like to believe it's ourselves, of course. We've been very, very unlucky with mechanical failures on a few occasions this year, and the Dutchman, although has been mighty consistent, I want to believe that I've had more wins to my name, but of course it looks like, I mean, what could still happen here is Charles Leclerc go all out for it on the final lap of the race and potentially save myself and put us into World Championship territory. But less than 2 laps to go. Sao Paulo has seen so many title deciders in the past, none less the my team career mode, of course, just a few weeks back around here at the end of Season 4 of that career mode. But is it going to settle another one today? Max Verstappen out of Jungsao to start the final lap here of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc hot on his rear as they go over the start-finish line. But we are, I mean, it's going to be a fairly undramatic finish for us unless I do something crazy. We pit late enough. We took a big risk on the new self-compound tyres. Of course, we were able to just carve our way back through that gaggle of cars. So I guess the only other thing that could happen is if Verstappen sets fastest lap on this final lap, which we know the AI are quite prone to go for. That would mean that it is still yet to be decided as we head into the final race of the year then. But is this a championship winning lap on F1 22? I don't know at the moment. I've never had anything like this on the Formula 1 games before, but we will get confirmation once we've crossed the start-finish line then. Verstappen, it looks like he's done enough to keep Charles Leclerc at bay on this final lap. Of course, Leclerc did technically come into this final race with a chance at the championship as well, but even if he got the jump on Max, he would not get close enough to myself to potentially win it there. Sergio Perez, of course, the 4th man in this huge championship fight, out of it after last weekend's Mexican GP, of course, knocked out in his home Grand Prix thanks to a mechanical failure there. Max Verstappen will win the Brazilian Grand Prix. Has that potentially still kept his slim but real championship hopes alive? We are about to find out there. Charles Leclerc will come through for P2 out of the final corner. It's going to be P3 for us. Do we win a world title here? Do we not? Up towards the line. We'll wait and see if we get the cutscene. We've done everything we possibly can. It's P3 in Brazil.
Fantastic! Yes, come on, we won it! We are the drivers' world champions! What a result! Enjoy this one, my friend. Enjoy it!
Well, it's certainly been an incredible year for Formula 1, and our drivers have all pushed themselves this season, making it one of the most compelling years of racing in history. There can only be one champion, however, and here they are now, our new Formula 1 World Drivers' Champion. So, another fantastic victory for Red Bull today. Well, Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today, but what set them apart from the rest? Our championship leader is still sat at the top of the standings, but their rivals have made up some solid ground today. Let's focus on the driver of the day, Anthony Davidson. Who do you pick?
Well, I certainly didn't have any complaints with Kevin Magnussen's performance today. Incredible driving.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. And pulling further ahead in the standings, it's Red Bull. Well, that was certainly an exciting weekend of Formula 1. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula 1 action very soon.
Well, there we are then, the end of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Max Verstappen takes home the dub ahead of Charles Leclerc there, but with that fastest lap bonus point, apparently, we are world champion. I will head back out and have a look after the video there, but I'm going to trust the game and say we are world champion then. So we join a very, very exclusive club here in the world of Formula 1. Of course, we joined Haas at the start of last year, took the team's first ever victory in Zandvoort, and then of course this year we really did give it everything, and we've done it. Allegedly, we have done it here. Sainz finishes P6, just ahead, sorry, Hamilton there. Ocon, Gasly, and Kevin Magnussen do actually recover to score a point there as well, so good job done by him. Only Lando Norris not making it to the end of the GP. Championship-wise though, 26 points. That's all we needed there. Constructors, though, we have still technically got a chance. We need both Red Bulls to DNF, and for us to score pretty much every possible point we could in the season finale there. What we need is first with fastest lap, and third place at the absolute minimum there. So I'm not really going to hold my breath, though that's going to happen next time out in Abu Dhabi. So, of course, mixed emotions when it comes to that one there. We gave it all we could, but I wasn't going to win the Grand Prix today anyway. So, unfortunately, I think the Constructors' Championship will have to be one that eludes us there. But we have guaranteed P2 over Ferrari. No other movers, though, in the Drivers' Championship by the looks of it, but we've done it. Haas Road to Glory is complete there. Thank you all to everyone that has continued to support on this series. The final race in Abu Dhabi, of course, will go live next week. And you know what? As it's the final race of the series, last a question mark challenge, 100% race. You heard it here first. We're going to be doing 59 laps, I think, of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix circuit, Yas Marina, next time out. Thank you all so much for watching, though. If you're not already, please do make sure you get yourself subscribed as well. And yeah, let's try and finish this year on a high and walk away once again with our World Championship. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.